How are you, son?
I'm good.
What's happening down there in the Izzy?
Another day in the A. You already know how they go. Somebody's birthday, somebody's celebration, somebody got shot, somebody ran off on somebody.
that they gonna see in Magic City later. Dumbass thing. But day in the A. Your sister was down there. I found out she and her boyfriend were there. Um, she was there for 7 days. He came 2 days afterwards, and they just left yesterday. And I found out that she was down there last night when she was on her way back to she was in the they was on the I guess in the airport or something like that. Well, one thing about kids, man, one thing about kids, they will definitely take you for granted. That's for sure. They
What's
will definitely take
crazy
you for granted.
is Tata about to go to college. So every weekend, we generally speak each other all weekend. It's like, senior year, he every weekend he going out and doing something different with his friends.
Oh yeah.
You see him
Oh
be
yeah, it's
less
that
and less.
time. Oh, it's that time. That time. You are a major part of his daily existence for them first 17 years. That's how it is. And then when they get ready to go off to college, you know, it's that beginning of their independence, and you are take as the parent, you're taken for granted because as long as they've been alive, you've always been there. So in their mind, that's reality. You'll always be there. I thought the same thing about my mother. I thought that she would always be there. It never occurred to me that there would be a version of reality that she was not a part of, you know? So it is par for the course, man. It's difficult to impart that kind of conscious awareness to your children, to any young person. It's difficult to get a young person to understand that a condition that you've only really been kind of semi-aware of because you're not really paying no attention to. You get about maybe 9, 10, 11, no, more like 12, 13 years old. You're not really paying attention to nothing for real, for real. You still feeling your way around in the dark, basically, as far as life is concerned. So you're not really paying attention, you know. And then all of a sudden, when you become aware of things, whatever you become aware of, you just assume, oh, this is what it is. Oh, this is what it is. This is what it's going to be. And that's that. And you never consider that it could be anything other than that. And
Yeah.
it could change so fast, man. So fast, it's unbelievable. You cannot be doing anything different, and everything around you can change based upon things you have nothing to do with, actions you're not even taking. And everything can change. The whole world can shift beneath your feet, and it's inevitable. It will happen. If you live long enough, it'll happen to everybody. Something will change. Someone will be removed from your life, and suddenly your life will be entirely different. And who knows? Who knows how it'll change you? Who knows how it'll change the trajectory of your life? Um, but it's life, it's life. As a parent, you just try to guide them as best you can towards the positive stuff and away from the negative stuff, and at the same time prepare them for the inevitable negative stuff, build their character and their fortitude so that they don't become somebody else. I just posted a clip from our last conversation, and we were talking about the Bimmy situation, of course, and we were talking about, oh, wait, by the way, shout out to Al Prophet. He up there with Kyle and Prince. Kyle is Supreme's son, for y'all who don't know. My man Kenneth Supreme McGriff, the founder leader of the Supreme team, if you've been under a rock, and his cousin and second in charge, Prince Gerald Prince Miller. So Al Prophet, my brother Al Prophet, is up there in New York right now with them as we speak, um, interviewing them and stuff like that. So y'all check out Al Prophet's channel on YouTube, American Dope. All right, make sure y'all subscribe. Like I've said before, Al picked up where I left off with the Don Diva thing. He's the only one I really endorse when it comes to the true crime platform. Al is a informed, highly intelligent, charactered, integrity, that word again, character, integrity, having guy who comes from the hood. Al is from the hood. His father still lives in the hood now. If you saw his father, you would think that he looks like he's related to, like he kind of reminds me of Bump, like he might be a relative of Ronnie Bumps, his father. Yeah, so because Al's father's father was black. It's a black man. And it's funny because when I introduced Al to Mike Conception, took him to Mike's house with me a few years back, and Mike was talking to him, and he was talking to him like he knew that Al was black. You know what I mean? He's like, and I don't know how it came up, but he's like, I know a nigga when I see one, like he's passing. You know what I mean? Like he was dead ass serious, and he didn't. It wasn't like he was told Al's father was black, but and I only say that to say that Al is not somebody who's removed from, the culture. He's been around black people all his life, and he comes from the hood in Detroit, and when he does the stories about true crime, he's had his own situations. He sat down situations. He sat down for murder. He sat down for drug trafficking. Two different incidents. He sat down, So you know what it is, and he's an educated individual who's a thinking individual. So he does these stories. He does them with not just a sensational aspect, but the educational and informational aspect. So he's not just perpetuating this destructive idea of crime and criminality and all this destructive shit as like it's cool. Not at all. It's what people are entertained by. He's an expert at it, a real expert at it, and he gives it up the way it's supposed to be gotten up. I trust his perspective on that kind of stuff more than I trust any other person out there in that space at all who picked up, my mantle of the whole true crime thing. But we were talking about, the clip I posted today was about 6ix9ine and how he said that he did what he did because of what the things that the guys did to him. And basically the gist of it was he did what he did because he's a bad character individual, which I think should be evident to people at this point. But what is also evident by the continuance of his popularity and the fact that he still has a career and is making money and all that is the fact that most people are bad character. Most people don't have good character. Most people don't do a thing or live a life that requires good character. Average person is doing a menial task labor job and all they have to do is manage to show up on time, not be high or evidently high, not burn the building down, and get some semblance of the job that they're being hired for done within the time space that has been allotted for the job to be done. Other than that, they could be the worst piece of shit ever, and they're not going to lose the job because for the most part, people are doing jobs that nobody actually wants. They're just doing them because that's what they qualify for. So most people don't live lives where not having good character is a prerequisite or a problem. Not at all. Not at all. You know.
It's funny to think about it at this level, you know, the working class level of poor character, meaning, you know, and having a real factor. And then in politics, all of them got poor character. So it's like you maybe get into politics.
They pretend though. They pretend, and you know, the only difference between a person in politics and a person with an everyday menial task job usually is education and opportunity. Other than that, you're talking about the same type of person. Just one is dressed up, one is wearing a suit and has a clean cut. You know, normally you notice how they don't have mustaches generally. That's from Texas or something. So they don't have mustaches or beards, anything like that.
Church niggas, like that video you see now posted the pastor telling the lady she need to bring $800 more. Like, it don't really matter. Like, they take whoever looks and speaks in the matter where they're accepting of it, you don't gotta be good character.
Bro, I wanted to reach into the screen and wring his neck, bro. I couldn't believe he was serious. I couldn't believe it was all serious. I couldn't believe none of it was real, you know, but it's real. This woman said she got up there and announced her name in front of this entire church. Who knows the size of the church, whatever.
No, it's a big
church. You could tell kind of like by all the sound and the you know, the way the sound traveled in the space. It was a substantial size space, right? And it sounded like a lot of going on around. So it's like, it sounds like a room full of people. And she announced her name and how she was proudly giving $1,200 of her dollars that she did her little menial task job, labor for, whatever, or maybe she got it from her business, you know. But when he tells her, I gave you the $1,200, I'm like, $1,200? Like, what the fuck are you giving them people $1,200 for at a church for? Like, what the fuck are you doing that for? And I'm really thinking about that because I'm thinking about just the condition of us on a economic level. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And then for him to turn around and say, see, y'all not listening. See, some of y'all not listening. I said $2,000. I said, what did he just say? What did he just say, this black woman? And embarrassed her. She got up there proudly saying, you know, I'm getting ripped off for $1,200. And he's like, no, I'm trying to rip you off for $2,000. And then first everybody was like, and then when he said, they was like, oh. I was like, yo, but we're retarded. We're retarded.
What about the young kid now sitting there looking at it? He's proud to stand there, and you watch his like demeanor change instantly, and it's like, fuck church.
I didn't notice.
Because he's sitting there like this, and then that interaction, he just like.
That's in the video?
Yeah.
You can see it. I didn't even notice that. That's crazy. I didn't notice that. I gotta peek back at that. But that's interesting. That's very interesting. Thinking about that, I was and I'm talking about thinking about that. I'm talking about thinking about the condition of us and like the idea of this person giving this lady giving this man, you know, $1,200 and him basically shaming her because, you know, he specifically requested that she give $2,000. He was telling everybody he need $2,000. Bruh, bruh. There's no difference between a person being that naive, a grown person being that naive and that stupid and brainless, and a person being like a MAGA person. It's the
Oh yeah,
same
same
degree of stupid.
idiocracy.
Yes. Yes, bro. It's the same degree. It's the same degree. It's like, what? What the fuck? And so recently, a few nights ago, this Friday night, I was thinking about how, how we, like I talk about all the time, like how we are in a bad way and on a bad path as a culture, right? As a group, and how we don't have room for that. We don't have room for that behavior. If that man is not collecting money to help put together some sort of hedge fund for the people in his church to be and do some investing in some foreign currencies and some gold. I mean, between BRICS and China and all these countries that are returning back to a gold standard, which is usurping the United States, the dollar's dominance as a world currency, which means that that paper that you have in your pocket, that paper that you believe is in the account in the bank that you go to, that you believe is there, it ain't there. But that paper is steadily becoming worth less and less and less because of the lack of its power. And that power is and has been predicated on the wide use of it across the planet. And the dollar has been on the, backed by, like, it's not backed by oil, it's not backed by gold, it's backed by, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. Go ahead. You got that. Like, you can cop whatever with that joint. Word. They'll take that shit. They'll take it. Like, that's what it's been. But they ain't trusting us no more, bro. So those dollars, it's so imperative that we convert those dollars into some other form of value, whether it's land, because they ain't making no more of that. And the value of it is definitely increasing, or precious metals, or, I believe in acres and bullion, you know what I mean? Which is like precious metal and land and precious metal, acres and bullion. That's what I believe in. But, you got, Bitcoin and shit like that, whatever. And the value of something is really based upon the agreements, the degree of agreement between people, because nothing has inherent value except you as a human being, as a unique life form. You have value, because if your life is extinguished, then, that's that, can't make you again, can't duplicate you, so each human being, if you're a humane person, you understand that each human being, regardless of their financial status, location, any other identifying characteristics, a human life has inherent value. Everything else is a perceived or agreed upon value. It's like the fact that diamonds no longer they never had any tremendous value. They were never rare. But there was a long held perception that diamonds were rare and thus valuable, right? Thank De Beers for that bullshit. But that's not the case anymore. Between moissanite and lab diamonds, and the fact that independent of those things, Say that moissanite didn't exist. Say that lab diamonds didn't exist. There are still so many diamonds being mined and have been mined and that exist, that are warehoused in warehouses that are the size of 10 Walmarts, and their distribution is highly controlled. There's so many of them that they literally have no special value. It's just a thing that people have been taught to think. That's why fools go out and spend tremendous sums on the acquisition of these shiny rocks. And,
Well,
I
the
like
biggest
I like
values,
diamonds.
the biggest jewelry companies that's like known brands sell fake jewelry, like K Jewelers and what's the other one? K Jewelers, and it's another stupid commercial one.
No, I wouldn't even know. The only reason I even know of a K jeweler is because of the size of their commercialism.
Yeah.
And I'm a person who hasn't watched television in 26 years.
But
You know what I mean? So,
all they
and I
stuff
know about them.
is gold plated. The diamonds are not real. It's like, but the brand is so big that people go and spend their money there.
That's because they don't know anything about this stuff to be able to really assess what it is that they're paying for, what they should be paying for it, why they're paying for it. They only know what they're told. They don't know anything. Before I bought my first piece of jewelry, you could say I had GIA certification. I knew as much about jewelry as a person who sold jewelry for a profession knew by the time I bought my first diamond, because I used to go and talk to the jewelers and talk to diamond dealers all the time. I was on 47th Street on the regular. I used to lead a block 9, 10 o'clock in the morning and go down to 47th Street and go straight off the block where, like dress how we used to be on the block with the big ass coat and this is the 80s.
Goose down.
Big ass goose down, snorkel, you know what I'm saying? Champion hoodies and mock, because it used to be fucking freezing,
Turtleneck,
under be out,
long johns.
Yeah, big ass baggy fucking jabots and some fucking Timbs and shit, like right up, you know what I'm saying? Look like you about to rob the joint, but pocket full of 1s and 5s and 10s and shit, you know what I mean? So I'm like, yo, what's that? And why is that? And how do you determine that? And the more you ask, the more they tell you, because you show interest in what they're doing. And the more you show interest, the more they want to tell you. And the more they tell you, the more you learn. So your questions become more informed. The more informed your questions are, the more interested they are in sharing the information with you, because most consumers don't care. That used to be how it was. They prefer ignorant consumer now, thanks to rappers, but I bring all that up to say that the reason that a lot of us spend the money that we spend is not based upon any understanding of the value of a dollar or the perceived value of a dollar, which, as I was saying, is that perception as far as the rest of the world is concerned. That perception is diminishing tremendously. That perception. Leland Lewis on 247-365. Did you intend to request to go live with us? Let's see a request there. So what's up, Minnie Bob? So let's see, Charles, what's happening? So that perception has fallen away, and these countries, as soon as this guy. The Chinese have been buying gold like crazy on the low, kind of, not low like secretly, but like not really making a big deal about it for years. As soon as this guy announced these tariffs, they started openly and blatantly, like publicly buying up massive amounts of gold. And when a major like a country or a company, a person, when anybody with significant sums begins to behave in a certain way financially, people take notice. And whether they know why they're doing it or not, it tends to influence their behavior, because they say, maybe these guys know something I don't know. Let me allocate some of my resources towards acquiring some of this stuff as well, because there's obviously some sort of shift. And again, the value in something is in the perception of it. It's not like, based on anything other than what people think, or believe. So the fact that China has been buying up all this gold has had a direct impact on, and they've been paying their, paying their shit in gold, which has made other countries be like, yeah, well, we're going to do the same thing. In fact, we're going to get gold, and our money is going to be backed by gold. United States money ain't backed by gold. And if you got all your motherfucking money in dollars, which a lot of countries did, if you got all your money in dollars, the United States decides that they are, pissed off at you, whatever, and they got a ton of your motherfucking dollars, and they decide they just gonna confiscate your dollars or hold on to your dollars, whatever, like they did to Russia. Then it's like you just fucked up. They shut down the nuclear power, like, motherfuckers that they should be responsible for or responsible to or respectful of. They just like, yeah, fuck that, we're gonna hold your money. We're gonna hold your dollars. We got a bunch of your dollars, so we're gonna hold it, whatever. It's like these niggas got nuclear weapons and you're not afraid of them. That made people take notice and be like, if you'll do that to Russia, you'll do that to anybody, especially those of us who don't have nuclear power. So you had to figure out a way to get out from under the thumb of the United States with it, because the United States is a gangster, youngest country in the fucking world, gangster, big ass gangster. And so, people started getting on this gold bandwagon. Being on this gold bandwagon, every other country getting on this gold bandwagon has really a broke country. First, the United States is a broke country, but it had the perception. The perception is fatal. These things are adversely affecting regular people. And if it's adversely affecting regular people, meaning the majority in this country, which are not us, then it's definitely going to have a negative impact on us. So to see black people going up in churches and dropping $1,200 just so they could say, look what I did, I gave $1,200, because that's their form of, like a nigga going to the bar and buying up the bar or buying the bottles of champagne or, whatever. That's the square version of that, I guess, but it just, these things, because I look at a lot of this stuff, and these things just really made me think.
Make it rain for Jesus.
Making it rain for Jesus, bro. And before I get into this point I wanted to share around that, I want to say this. Our grandfather was probably 25% black. Trey Oxendine said. What makes you say that, Trey? What makes you say he's probably 25% black?
I think he's just talking shit.
Yeah, the one remember the one drop rule too, by the way. That would be black enough for Whitey to treat him differently. Al, a white man at the end of the day,